Hello, 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 hello. Hi, everybody. It's your girl, Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Critic. I am back and I am in the middle of the Toronto. Let me pull this down just a little bit so you can see my face and get this mic out the way. Boom. I am right in the middle of screening for the Toronto International Film Festival and getting my swerve on. It has been so much fun. But before I get into all of that, let me tell you what I've been up to. This week, we celebrated, unfortunately, yet again, the anniversary of 9/11. So I just wanted to give my condolences and my prayers to those who have been left behind, to those who lost their lives and sacrificed their lives for the sake of keeping America safe. So big hugs and prayers to all. Hi, and I'm back. There was a little issue there. Anywho, prayers and uplifts to those who lost their life and spent their lives, the remaining part of their lives that they didn't even know they had left, keeping America safe and sane. So there's that. I did a big hosting job for the Concept Art Awards 2020. I hosted that along with Max Greenfield. If you didn't get a chance to check it yesterday at 6:00, you can go to YouTube and catch the whole replay there. What concept art is an art in which costume designers reach out to artists to have them draw out, fully flesh out the look that they want for the characters in the films to have. So one of the people that spoke at that event is my good friend, Philip Boutte Jr., who was the concept art designer for Black Panther, Maleficent, and so many more titles. And they honored Sid Mead, who was huge in that lane, as well as a bunch of other artists. So pop on over there to check that out if you have an opportunity. Hey, Hey there, Brandon. It's so good to see you. Always good to see you. I will review Wolf Walkers, not today, but next week, because I didn't have a chance to get my thoughts together on that one. So I'll get to that one, but I did enjoy it. And I know that it's coming up on Apple TV Plus. I also had an opportunity to do some commentary work for NBC4 here in Los Angeles with Ted Chin. There has been a lot of controversy this week about the new rules that the Academy has set in place. And I'm kind of like Viola Davis on that point. I don't want to force anybody to have to see me on a screen. So if people would just do what was right, we wouldn't have to have rules set in place. But I said what I said about it, as well as a couple of other journalists. So you can go on YouTube and find that clip as well. And the Emmys are coming up next week. Oh, let me backtrack. The Concept Art Awards, you can find it on the Lightbox Expo online. And the Lightbox Expo was happening from the 11th through the 13th. So there's still a few panels still happening right now. So if you pop over to YouTube, you can catch that there. All right. So the Emmys are coming up next week. Love the Emmys. Love them. They're coming up next week. And for the first time, I was able to vote as Academy member. So I was very excited about being able to do that. So they're coming up, and next week is actually the Primetime Emmy Awards, and it will be happening at the same time as my broadcast. So we'll keep it short and sweet, a real quick 30 minutes. I'll give you my predictions of who I think might win. We might have some winners that pop up on the screen that I'll find out about as we are going along. And that is that. So I don't have photographs for these films because I'm running a little late today with my things, but I have lots of news for you. Lots and lots of news for you. The first film that I saw is a film called Oh, wait, let me just give a shout out to the people in the chat room. What am I doing? Hey, Michael B. Hey, Brandon. Welcome back, y'all. Oh, and for those of you who this is your first time seeing the Curvy Critic, I am your host, Carla Renata, the Curvy Critic. And you can catch me here on YouTube and via Facebook Live every Sunday at 5 o'clock, unless I tell you otherwise. And what I do is I give you interviews and film reviews of films that are currently happening. I give you a little anniversary action every once in a while. And then sometimes I do the interviews with people that are above and below the line in the film industry. So having said that, let's get right on into TIFF, honey. I saw this film called One Night in Miami. Now, I know y'all know Regina King. She won the Oscar last year for If Beale Street Could Talk. And I knew when I saw her at TIFF last year, I told my girl, I said, look, I know you about to win this Oscar, so let me just grab a hold of you now before it happens. And I'm so glad that I did. So glad that I did, because she was absolutely fantabulous in that. And we all know Regina is, you know, a force to be reckoned with. She's been in the industry since she was a child. So she's been at this for a minute. And everybody knows her. Everybody loves her. She has a great work ethic, and she's just a really wonderful person. But she, along with a couple of other people, David Oyelowo, Halle Berry, and Regina King, are making their directorial debuts at the Toronto International Film Festival this year. Halle Berry's film is called Bruised. David Oyelowo's film is called The Waterman, which we'll talk about a little later. And of course, Regina King's film is called One Night in Miami. And One Night in Miami is a play that was written by a young man that went to Howard, whoop, whoop, Kemp. So Kemp wrote this play and he's a Howard University Bison. Y'all know how I feel about my Howard University Bisons and my people from St. Louis. I always lift them up. But Kemp wrote this play called One Night in Miami that centers around a real night that actually happened in Miami, Florida in 1964, after Cassius Clay beat Sonny Liston and ended up becoming the heavyweight champion of the world in the field of boxing. What we didn't know was going to happen that night is that he announced to the world that he was no longer going to be known as Cassius Clay, but be known from that point forward as Muhammad Ali, because he decides that he wants to spend his life practicing the Muslim faith. Now, when I tell y'all, before I even get to that, let's just celebrate the fact that not only is this Regina King's directorial debut, but she was the first African-American woman to debut a film who is a woman of color, an African-American film director at the Venice Film Festival. So kudos and big ups to you for that. Now, let me get into this movie, y'all, because it was everything. When I tell y'all this film was everything, I mean, it was everything. From the way it was shot, to the soundtrack, to the music, to her direction. And in the play, this play literally just takes place in one room, right? It usually just takes place in the hotel room in Malcolm X's hotel room. So the four men that are involved in the film or that got together that night, I should say, are Malcolm X. Why am I drawing a blank? Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, Muhammad Ali, and Jim Brown. They were the creme de la creme of Black celebrity in 1964, respectively, in all of their fields. And they were friends, and they all got together that night to celebrate Muhammad Ali's win. And the conversation that happens amongst these men, this is the thing. There's been so much controversy and conversation around Black men in America, and what they talk like and what they act like, and why are they being bullied? Why are they being shot? Why are they being harassed? This is the thing. One Night in Miami will tell you exactly who and what a Black man is. They're smart, they're loving, they are funny, and some of them are husbands, some of them are fathers, some of them are brothers. But at the end of the day, they look out for each other like no one else does. And that is the gist of One Night in Miami. When I tell you every performance in that film is killing, every performance in that film is killing. And it features Aldous Hodge and Leslie Odom Jr. Aldous Hodge is playing Jim Brown. Leslie Odom Jr. is playing Sam Cooke. And when I tell you the sultry tones of Leslie Odom Jr. were not lost on me in that film, when he goes to sing A Change Is Gonna Come, and there's this whole montage that's happening of where these men are after they spent this one night in Miami, it's going to bring a lump to your throat. It's going to bring a tear to your eye, and it's going to make you yearn more than anything else for more hope, for more resolution, for more equality for Black Americans in America, not just Black men, but Black Americans in America. This film couldn't have hit at a better time. With Black Lives Matter, boom, it was right on time. It was everything. The next film I saw was a film called Pieces of a Woman. This film was enough. Look, TIFF is one of my favorite film festivals. I usually go there and I come away hardly seeing anything that I consider to be bad. And this year is no exception. The whole festival this year has been done virtually. So it's a little different. It is a little challenging when you're at home trying to watch films because you're at home. You know, you want to take a nap, you want to get a snack, you get distracted by phone calls, people popping by. Well, not necessarily people popping by right now because we're in quarantine, but you know, all that kind of stuff. But it's been challenging, but I've been working my way through it. Having said that, Pieces of a Woman just made a deal with Netflix after its screen. So you all will be able to catch it sooner than later on Netflix. And it is everything. It stars Ellen Burstyn, Vanessa Kirby, and Shia LaBeouf. When I tell you Vanessa Kirby is the front runner for winning the Best Actress Oscar, I'm telling you, she's the front runner for winning the Best Actress Oscar. Vanessa Kirby, y'all know her from Fast and Furious, Hobbs and Shaw. You know her from Mission Impossible Fallout. You know her usually as that chick who's in those blockbuster movies every single summer, kicking butt and taking names. She's kicking butt and taking names in this film, but in a completely different type of way. Her performance in this film is freaking astounding. I mean, the first 20 minutes of the film will have you going, oh my God, what am I in for? There's a scene with her and Ellen Burstyn that is just phenomenal. It literally is a masterclass in sparring while acting. It was everything. And Pieces of a Woman centers around a couple who loses their first child and what that aftermath is for the mother, the father, her mom, and everybody in their circumference, how that affects them, especially the midwife who was delivering the baby, who is now on trial for murder and negligence. So that film is called Pieces of a Woman. The next one I saw is starring another one of my favorites, Frances McDormand. You know, Frances McDormand don't play. Every time she hit the screen, it's like, pardon the expression, but it's like balls to the walls every time Frances McDormand hits the screen. This time is no different. Nomad Land is based on a book by the same name by Jessica. What is Jessica's last name? Jessica. Hold on, let me find it. Bruder. Jessica, I think it's Cruder. It might be Bruder, but her name is Jessica. Anyway, Jessica, this is based on a book by the same name, where Jessica literally drove 15,000 miles across the western part of the United States and just, you know, to see what it was like to live as a nomad. If you don't know what a nomad is, it's basically people who have been displaced due to no fault of their own because they lost their jobs. An elderly member that may have been taking care of them has passed away, and they find themselves living in RVs or in vans across the country. This film, again, is another film that is very apropos for right now because there are so many people due to COVID-19 that are displaced. There were a bunch of people displaced before, but now it's even more so. And this film gives you a bird's eye view into what that life is and how these people are navigating through that, you know, sleeping in the cold in a van or in the RV in the middle of nowhere, not having any heat, and navigate food. And a lot of them, what they do is they kind of drive around. So Frances's character drives around the western part of the United States so that she can come back around once a year to work at Amazon. So she works at Amazon once a year, usually during the holidays, builds up her cash for the rest of the year and gets to moving. The challenges that she has to deal with, like when her van needs to get fixed and they tell her it's $5,000 and she doesn't have it. The look on her face when she goes back to see her house for the first time after her husband has died. The look on her face when she has feel for a man out in this wilderness, knowing that that is not going to be a possibility. Frances McDormand, and I talk about this a lot when I talk about movies. I love watching actors who you can see everything right on their face. You can just see everything on their face and see every emotion, see the guilt, the happiness, the sadness, the joy, everything is on their face without them saying one single word. Frances McDormand is the queen of that. And Nomadland has already walked away with a handful of awards at the Venice Film Festival. So y'all need to look out for that one because it's going to be off and popping. Today at the TIFF Film Festival, Warrior Queen of Jonsai is playing. Now, I've talked about Warrior Queen of Jonsai here before. It is directed by Swati BC and written and starring and directed by Devika BC. Devika is the daughter, Swati is the mom. They did this together, and it's a tale of women's empowerment about the story of Lakshmi, the queen of Jonsai, who fiercely led her army against the British East India Company in the infamous mutiny of 1857. I thought it was a fantabulous film. I interviewed them once before. Please make your way to those interviews on my YouTube channel. It was great. We had a wonderful time, and it was very insightful. That is playing at the Toronto International Film Festival today. Another one of the films I saw was called Penguin Bloom. Penguin Bloom is based on, again, a book by the same name written by Cameron Bloom, and it is about Sam Bloom. Sam Bloom was a very active mom, gorgeous mom, Australian mom with a wonderful family, 3 kids. She married her high school sweetheart. A really unfortunate accident left her paralyzed from the waist down, and she is grappling with how to navigate her life in this new body, in this new shape, in this new form. And as a result of that, just when she's at the bottom of the barrel, she becomes friendly with this bird that looks like a penguin. He's got a big old white stripe down his back, and they call him Penguin because he looks like a penguin. And his last name is Bloom, thus the title of the film, Penguin Bloom. But this bird transforms this family's life. And like any animal that transforms your life, like I used to have a little dog, and my dog, he knew when I was sad. He knew when I was happy. There was nothing better than seeing that little tail wag when I came home. And even though a penguin's tail can't wag, they can show you love in different ways. A bird. Birds' tail can't wag. They can show you love in different ways. And this bird was hilarious. It was a magpie. Child, he was dragging stuffed animals across the floor and getting into bed. He was pure comedy. But the film is a big, huge tale in how animals can transform our lives and transform our spirits and turn us into someone someone better than who we were before, is what I'm trying to say. I'm stumbling all over my words because I'm so excited. So that is Penguin Bloom. That is also playing at the Toronto International Film Festival. A film I saw this morning, which jacked me all the way up, was a film called Mlk Fbi, documentary by Sam Pollard. Sam Pollard is a wonderful filmmaker. I've interviewed him numerous times. I interviewed him about his documentary about Sammy Davis Jr. I interviewed him about his documentary on the Black Panthers. I interviewed him about his documentary, The Atlanta Murders. I've interviewed him on all of these subjects, and he is not one to shy away from a subject that is controversial or that might hit you in the pocket the wrong way. And Mlk Fbi is definitely going to hit you in the pocket in the wrong way, because it's just appalling how Herbert Hoover, who was in office, y'all, in his position for 48 years, that's unprecedented and it's ridiculous. There needs to be turnover for change to happen. Sorry, but there needs to be change for turnover to happen. But he was in office for 48 years. And this film documents how Martin Luther King Jr. got on their radar, how he stayed on their radar. And when I say they, I mean the FBI, and why he was on there for so incredibly long. It was absolutely mind-boggling. But I don't want to ruin it for people that are going to see it, because it will come on eventually on a platform, and I'll let you know when that happens where you can see it. But it is shocking how they were so dogmatic about bringing Dr. King down. And they talk about how after he won the Peace Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize, how he was even the powers that be saw him as an even bigger threat to America. The only reason he was seen as a threat is because he represented a way of life that was change. And people don't like change. They say in this film numerous times, they use 3 words: law and order. Sound familiar? That's all I'm going to say. Be on the lookout for Mlk Fbi by Sam Pollard. Now, to take a break from some of the films, I attended a few little conversations. One of those conversations was one that happened with Julius Tenen and Viola Davis, who are husband and wife. They have a company called Juvee, Juvee Productions. And they talked about a plethora of things. But the biggest thing that she talked about that I took away from and was absolutely so excited about was the fact that she was talking about how Julius and her are using their company to make a dent in diversity in Hollywood. How they're using it to produce her own projects, because after she won the Oscar, she didn't want to have herself be in a position where she was sitting back waiting on the right script to come, because when you're over 50, the scripts are few, far, and in between unless you write them yourself or you produce them yourself. And she also, both of them said together that there is no blueprint in Hollywood. That was the biggest takeaway that they said. There was no blueprint to navigating your way through Hollywood. That was that conversation. The next conversation was one with Halle Berry. Halle Berry, as you all know, is the first African-American woman to win the Best Actress Oscar for her role in Monsters Ball. It was a retrospective conversation that happened. They talked about her career beginning all the way back to when she was a model and was on a little sitcom, Living Dolls, on television, all the way through to her winning the Oscar, and some of the revelations and gems that she dropped along the way in discussing that were absolutely wonderful. One thing she said was, there are people in your circle that want to keep you down and don't want you to fulfill your dreams, because that does something to them. And she became very well aware of who those people are and protected herself from that, right? And she also said, to never give up. Just don't give up. And how disappointed she was. She just knew that night when she won that Oscar that all right, and we're back. So anyway, she was saying how disappointing it was that she didn't see other women standing beside her. That was 20 years ago that she won that Oscar, y'all. It's been 20 years since we have seen any woman of color, Black, Asian, or otherwise, win a Best Actress Oscar. I wrote an article about it for ebert.com. If you go there, you can read all about it. I wrote an article about it because I felt some kind of way about that. But she talked about how disappointing that was for her and that she had really hoped to see someone standing beside her by now. Great, great, great conversation and some really nice gems up there. Now, let's get into The Waterman. The Waterman is a film that I saw that's part of the Toronto International Film Festival 2020. And it deals with, like, those urban myths like the Slender Man and Bigfoot. It deals with this myth around somebody that's called the Waterman. And this young boy played by Lonnie Chavis goes to see if he can find the Waterman because his mom is ill, and he's heard through the myths that there's a crystal he can get from the Waterman that will help his ailing mother. This film is all about love, unconditional love, and what one goes through for the people that are important and they love and that they cherish and they keep most and best in their hearts. So I sat down and I talked with David Oyelowo and Lonnie Chavis and Amiah Miller. I'm not going to put up the entire interview because, as you know, on StreamYard, they limit the interviews to 5 minutes. So what I did do is I put up the portions, some selected portions of what David talked to me about, and I'm going to air that. And then you can go to the YouTube channel at 5:30 or a little after, where you can see the whole interview with Amiah, David, and Lonnie. It's in its entirety. So without without further ado, here is my interview with directorial debut director at TIFF for his film The Waterman, David Oyelowo.
No, I didn't write it. Emma Nadell wrote it. It was a blacklist script that I happened upon in 2015. But yes, I did act in it. I produced it, and I ended up directing it, which was not the original intention, actually. The original reason I was drawn to it was exactly as you say. It's just a beautiful love story. I would go even further and say it's a beautiful sacrificial love story. It centers around Lonnie's character, who has a mother played by Rosario Dawson who's very ill, and this is a kid who is prepared to do anything, literally anything, to save his mother. And to me, that is the meaning of love. That is true love, being prepared to put yourself in harm's way for the people you love. But it's also a father-son love story. It's about a father who rediscovers his son. It's about a son who rediscovers his father as well. And it's also about a friendship between both Lonnie and Amiah's characters, a friendship that starts very acrimoniously and through adversity becomes its own kind of platonic love story as well. So a lot of love in the Waterman.
The scene where Gunnar sees his mom in the bathroom and she unrolls and she's emaciated from the back. What decision-making process went into wanting to show that? Because I'm sure, children will see the film, and I'm sure that some children that will see the film will be in that place of having a parent that is sick and or dying or is no longer with us. So I just wanted to know, what was the impetus for making the decision to put that in and keep it in? And then Lonnie, if you could follow up with, how was it filming that scene for you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to make this film is I love the way it doesn't patronize the children in the film, the young people in the film, the young characters in the film. The truth of the matter is, we all go through tough stuff, and sometimes when you watch films centered around kids the ages that Lonnie and Amiah were when they were in the film, it's almost you almost pretend that kids don't go through stuff. And I also went through the loss of a parent. My mom became very ill, and eventually ended up passing away. And she lived with us during that period. And I watched my 4 kids having to navigate their grandmother, who they loved deeply, going through this struggle. And as much as the forest represents a rites of passage, something that these kids have to overcome, what Lonnie's character is going through at home is another rites of passage. It's another moment of his growth. If we live long enough in this life, we will go through these things, whether we like it or not. And it's not whether you'll go through them, it's how you get through them and how much love you're able to retain while doing it, as opposed to taking on the brokenness that can also come with it. And so I'm always looking to equip my kids for the highs and lows that are coming ahead of them. And I think film is such an incredible means of doing that. You talked about some of those films, like E.T. was the first time I saw a single parent family on film when I was a kid myself. And that family was going through some tough stuff, but there was adventure and there was fun. And, life is full of all these things. And I think now, in the wake of the pandemic, more so than ever before, everyone knows someone who's sick, knows someone who's struggling, knows someone who's going through really tough things, or at worst, people who have lost their lives. And so, I just wanted to make something that had those entertainment qualities, but didn't patronize kids and was real and could engender a conversation to help families who are going through these tough times as well.
Thank you, David Oyelowo. I appreciate you so very much. I enjoyed talking to you. I enjoyed having you share your thoughts on the film and your directorial debut. Yay! So again, you guys, you can go over to the YouTube channel for the entire interview that I did with David Oyelowo, Lonnie Chavis, and you guys might remember Lonnie Chavis from This Is Us. He plays young Randall, and Amiah Miller. They do a fantabulous job. Very powerful performance by everyone all around. It will be playing at the Toronto International Film Festival on September 15th. All right. One film I forgot to talk about real quick is this film called The Way It Is. So Pete Souza is this legendary photographer. He has photographed the administrations of Reagan and Obama. He's that person that when you see those candid photographs of Reagan or Obama during their tenure or during their presidency, Pete Souza was the photojournalist that took those photographs. And photographs can say a million things. But this film, which is directed by Dawn Porter, is everything because we get to see how he became a photojournalist. He was a little boy that went on a tour of the White House, saw a book about a tour of the White House, and that put a little spark in his eye about becoming a photojournalist when he eventually went to college in Boston. So the film comes about as a result of a book that he wrote. I want to say it's called Throwing Shade, and I know it's not called that, but I kind of think it is. It's hilarious, though. He got so fed up with how this current administration is just lying and just doing the shenanigans that they do on a daily, hourly, minute, second basis that he started using his photographs and putting them on Instagram to not deflate, but to negate what was being tweeted by Mango in Chief. Some of them are hilarious. Some of them are just like a great big old sucker punch to him. And some of them are just like, yeah, boy, you go. So it's called The Way It Is. It has gotten a deal as well. So you will totally be able to see it. I believe it's either going to be on Amazon or Netflix. I'll have to double check that, but you'll totally be able to catch it. Next week, I will have an interview with him and one of his producers, Laura Dern, who won the Oscar, the Best Supporting Actress Oscar last year for Marriage Story. So be on the lookout for that. I also want to talk real quick about these two films that are coming out. One is called The Secrets We Keep. It streams on September 16th, and it stars Naomi Rapace, Chris Messina, and Joel Kinnaman. It's on Bleecker Street Films, and it is directed and written by Yuval Adler. It will be in theaters on September 16th, and it will be on video demand on October 16th. So I'll remind you guys, October 16th, it is coming up. Basically, the character Maya, who is played by Naomi, her character was in a POW camp in Germany, and she sees this guy that she thinks is the person who pillaged and raped her and her sister when they were in those camps. She seeks revenge toward this man and enlists her husband to help torture and kill him. It's a deep little film, and it brings to mind, is there somebody that you want to take out that did you some kind of way? I know that there is, but for this doll, she went full throttle. It's a thriller. It's a drama. The two leads, everybody in it is absolutely fantabulous. It is a period piece. It's gorgeously shot. is expertly written and is called The Secrets We Keep. It hits theaters on September 16th and is video demand on October 16th. The next film I want to talk to you about is called Blackbird. This film is starring, da, 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 da. It's a long list too, baby, but I'll get to the director first. It's directed by Christian Thorpe. Recognizable Kate Winslet. Child, it wasn't until I saw the credits and I was like, that was Kate Winslet? I was like, who is that girl playing the oldest daughter? She's fabulous. Of course she's fabulous. It was Kate Winslet. But this film deals with this terminally ill woman who brings her family together one last time before she takes her life on her own terms by having her husband give her a little phenobarbital to make her go to sleep because she's paralyzed on one side, and she said that she could just feel her body getting worse, and she didn't want to get to a point where she couldn't speak for herself or do for herself or have people look at her or just, you know, not be a shell of the woman that she has been used to navigating through life in. So that is the gist of the film. Secrets fly all over the place. I won't tell you what the secrets are, but they are just pew, 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 flying everywhere. But the film is called Blackbird. And next week, I will have Bex Taylor Klaus here to talk with me about that. Now, one other thing I have to tell you guys. So September 16th is my birthday. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Happy birthday to me. So if you're on social media and you follow me, give me a big old happy birthday cake. You know, I know I can't get a real one, but give me a big old happy birthday cake and say happy birthday to me sometime between now and then. I'd appreciate it. It would be fabulous to hear from you. Also, next week, I'm going to have, dun, 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 in addition to the interviews with Laura and Pete and Bex, I'm also going to have the stars of Secret Society of Second Born Royals, which is going to drop on Disney Plus. I have those stars, Peyton Elizabeth Lee and Niche. I'm about to say his name backwards. Niles Fitch. Niles, I'm sorry, child. During the interview, I was calling him Miles, and now I'm calling him Niche. But the boy's name is Niles Fitch. So I have that. So just to recap what I saw at the Toronto Film Festival, and I will bring you even more stuff next week. I saw One Night in Miami, Pieces of a Woman, Nomadland, Warrior Queen of Jansai, Penguin Bloom, Mlk Fbi. I will bring Wolf Walkers to you next week. I will bring a couple of other films to you next week from the Toronto Film Festival, including Concrete Cowboys. I saw The Way It Is. I think I said Nomadland. And we did reviews of The Secrets We Keep, which drops via the theaters on September 16th and video demand on November 16th, and Blackbird, which drops this week as well. So that is it for me. If this is your first time joining me, y'all, and I know some of you it is, let me just get some stuff out the way so I can see what I'm doing. If this is your first time joining me, I am Carla Renata, the Curvy Film Critic. Thank you so much for joining me. Give me a big old thumbs up to let me know you were here. And you can catch my written reviews of everything that I talk about here at my site, thecurvyfilmcritic.com. I'll see you back here next week for the Emmys 2020. Hold tight. I'll see you next week, Brandon. Michael B., thank you so much for popping in and hanging out with your girl. I appreciate you. And yeah, so that does it. And I'll see you with a whole brand new exciting show next week on The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all. Bye.